If you're new to the channel, make sure to like the video and subscribe. And this horror story is going to be extremely terrifying, so don't listen to it alone. Darkness had fallen in such a way that it felt as if someone had pulled a thick blanket of smoke across the sky. The town was Alden Creek. Its name sounded peaceful, but once night descended, the air carried invisible blades. At the entrance of the town stood an old house, 4 stories tall, wooden, with windows that trembled for no reason. People said dawn never met night inside it. Whoever entered didn't just lose time, they lost themselves. Tonight, Jason, Amelia, and Christopher stood before that house. The 3 friends had decided the night before that they would enter and film footage for a documentary titled The Main Whisper. They didn't know this would be the last normal night of their lives. As Jason pushed the gate, a shiver ran through his hand. The gate hadn't been touched in years, yet it opened easily, as if someone inside had been waiting for them. Their footsteps crunched over dried leaves. The air carried no scent of soil, no hint of flowers, only a cold, metallic smell. When Amelia turned on the camera, an eerie echo spread through the surroundings. It felt as though even the leaves on the trees had stopped to listen. The front door was slightly open. The inside looked like a pocket of darkness. As Jason pushed the door, a cold gust brushed his cheek, as if someone's fingers had stroked his skin. When Christopher flicked on his flashlight, the beam trembled, like someone tugged at it from within his hand. As they stepped inside, they saw countless framed photographs hanging on the walls, but the people in the pictures seemed to stare back at them. Each pair of eyes was unusually bright, sharp, glowing on their own, as if they produced their own light. When Amelia focused her camera on them, a faint whispering sound came from the photos. Soft, but clear. It sounded like lips moving without a mouth. Jason stepped closer and pressed his hand on one picture. The surface was icy cold. When he tried to pull his hand back, it wouldn't move. It felt like the person inside the photo was gripping his hand from behind the glass. Jason yanked his arm free and fell backward. Amelia rushed to him, but the air suddenly grew heavy. Doors around them shut slowly on their own. Window frames rattled, and from the upstairs floor came a dragging sound, as if something heavy was being pulled across the ground. They swept their lights around and moved forward into a large hall. In the center stood an old wooden table. On the table lay a small brown diary. The cover was scratched with 3 deep claw marks, as if someone had violently thrown it there. Opening the diary, the first page read, "Do not fear those who walk within time. Fear the shadows that walk outside it." As they read, the sound of footsteps came again from above, slow, deliberate. But the steps were not human. They sounded like someone incredibly tall, someone who took a long time to place each foot. The dragging noise grew louder. When Jason pointed his flashlight up the stairs, a shadow extended its head around the corner. It was tall, shaped like a person, but without a face. Only a hollow, black void. And from that void came a deep voice. "Go back." The 3 froze, but the shadow didn't stop. Its neck stretched unnaturally long. Though it had no mouth, a sound came from within. Amelia bolted backward and felt the staircase tremble beneath her feet, as if the house itself was alive, blocking their path. Christopher shouted, "Run to the door!" They sprinted through the hall toward the exit, but the door was shut tight. From beneath it, cold black smoke seeped in, crawling across the floor and climbing their legs, as if searching for a way inside them. Suddenly, the entire house shook violently. Walls bulged inward, ceiling beams groaned, like something massive was being crushed above them. From below the floor came dull thuds, and upstairs, those long footsteps began descending the stairs. They turned and saw the shadow coming down, slowly. Its fingers were impossibly long, nearly 7 inches each. Something throbbed inside its chest. With every step, its bones cracked loudly. The house lights flickered once and went out. Their flashlights sputtered. In the darkness came the soft cry of a child, low, trembling. Right behind them, Jason swung the flashlight. At the far end of the hall stood a little girl. Her eyes were missing, just black holes. A faint, unnatural smile bent her lips. She tilted her head slightly and whispered, "You are too late." Suddenly, the shadow behind her expanded at a terrifying speed, stretching along the floor toward them. Thousands of whispers merged together in the air. Arms emerged from the walls, thin, pale, abnormally long, reaching for them. They ran again. The hallway had changed. Every direction led to another door, another room, none of them where they were moments earlier. Running through yet another room, they finally stopped before a massive mirror. It was unlike any mirror they had seen. It reflected no image of them. But behind them, the tall shadow's twisted form was visible, smiling, though it had no mouth. Then a hand burst out of the mirror, shattering the glass, sharp fragments scattering, and grabbed Jason by the shirt. At the moment the mirror shattered, Jason didn't even understand how the hand pulled him inside. Amelia screamed and lunged toward him, but Jason's arm slipped through her fingers. A cold rush of air. Then his entire body was dragged into the mirror and vanished. The shards trembled on the floor, as if someone inside was still trying to come out. Christopher stood frozen. Amelia stared at the empty frame of the mirror, where nothing remained now, only a deep, endless darkness. The room suddenly fell silent, a silence so thick that even the sound of breathing felt like a crime. Amelia's trembling hand reached toward Christopher. Before she could speak, the out-of-place white piano keys in the corner began moving on their own. One note played, then another. Then, a tense, unbearable melody that no human ear should hear. A shadow rose above the piano. It was the same girl from earlier, but her face was no longer human. It had stretched long, lips gone, teeth sharpened, each tooth stained with dried blood. She slowly tilted her head, her neck bending unnaturally, as if there were no bones at all. "You are not alone anymore," she said, the voice bubbling out like something dragged up from underwater. Christopher grabbed Amelia's hand and ran. Behind them, the girl made no footsteps, but her shadow crawled rapidly across the walls, as if stalking them through the house itself. The corridors stretched longer and longer. Each door they tried to escape through appeared again in front of them. Amelia suddenly stopped, her breath caught in her throat. Christopher shouted, "Run! If you stop, it's over." At that moment, the doors upstairs slammed shut one by one. With each slam, the entire house shook. The whole structure was alive, shifting, twisting, trapping them deeper. In the dark, the pages of the old diary began flipping on their own, and a voice whispered from it, "Where you stand is not a place of time. Those who walk here are neither alive nor dead." Christopher stumbled to the floor. Blood pooled from his knee, but the moment it touched the ground, it vanished, absorbed into the floor like the house drank it. Running again, they burst into a massive hall they hadn't seen before. At its center stood a 10-foot-tall clock. The clock hands were frozen, yet from inside came a ticking sound. The sound echoed through the entire mansion. Christopher shivered. Maybe this is the center. Maybe this is... He didn't finish. The clock's hands jerked downward, and the door of the clock swung open. A shadow stepped out, not like the others. This one was tall like a human, but with no face, no throat. Where the mouth should be was a huge spinning void, turning like a clock's minute hand. The shadow reached toward them, and from its hollow arms came a horrifying sound, as though thousands of people inhaled at once. Amelia stepped back, but suddenly she heard a voice beside her. "Your friend is trapped in time." She turned, and Jason was standing next to her. But his face was pale, his eyes blackened. He had no eyelids, and the corners of his mouth had split open. He tried to walk, but his legs weren't moving, as if something behind him held him with invisible ropes. Amelia screamed, "Jason, you're alive! I'll get you out!" Jason's face showed no emotion. After a few seconds, he spoke slowly. "I don't live. I don't die. I am just outside time." His body convulsed. The shadow behind him tried to pull him back. Amelia reached out to grab his hand. Suddenly, the entire house shook violently. The walls cracked. The ceiling groaned. The floor split apart. And from the cracks rose countless hands, thin, long, boneless. Christopher grabbed Amelia's arm. "Now! Right now! Run!" They ran. For the first time, the corridor opened instead of closing. It felt as though the house wanted them to leave, or perhaps it allowed them to escape because it had already taken what it wanted. They reached the gate. Outside, fog choked the air. Cold winds sliced through their bones. They ran out. Then a sound behind them. The same piano melody. Amelia turned. Through the window, the girl stood inside the house. Smoke seeped from her mouthless face. Her eyeless gaze locked directly on Amelia. Her lips didn't exist, but a voice came. "One has stayed behind." Amelia understood. Jason. But the door slammed shut violently. A deafening crash echoed. The entire house drowned in darkness. Then silence. Only the wind rustled the leaves of nearby trees. But the windows of the house stayed still. No sound, no movement, no light, except one thing. In the window of the upper floor stood a tall shadow, its head bent sideways, waiting for someone. And inside its chest were 3 small human figures. 3 shadows, 3 souls trapped in time. People in Alden Creek still avoid walking near the house at night because when the wind stops at midnight, 3 different voices are heard. One screams, one whispers, one calls a name, Amelia, and those who listen too long, their names start being called too, and the hands of the clock start to move again.